Om Prithvi Shantirantariksha Shantir Dyau Shantir Disha Shantiravantara Disha Shantiragni Shantir Vayu Shantiraditya Shantif Chandrama Shantir Nakshatrani Shantirapa Shantiroshadaya Shantir Vanaspataya Shantir Gau Shantiraja Shantirashva Shantir Purusha Shantir Brahma Shantir Brahmana Shantir Shantireva Shanti Shantir Me Astu Shantihi. May there be peace on earth and in the sky. May there be peace in the water and in all directions. May there be peace in the plants, in the trees, and in animals. May there be peace in the hearts of all beings. May there be peace in everyone and in everything. Sarvetra Sukhina Santu, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Sarvastaratu Durgani, Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu, Sarvas Sadbuddhimapnotu, Sarvas Sarvatra Nandatu. May all be happy and healthy. May all see what is good, and may no one experience misery. May all overcome their obstacles and acquire good tendencies. May people everywhere find joy and fulfillment. Let us now spend some time touching the center of peace and joy in our hearts. A good way to begin the practice is to withdraw the scattered energies of the mind and bring them to rest on one point. That point can be our own breathing. Let us therefore practice breathing with awareness. As we breathe in, let us visualize that our body and mind are being filled with love, strength, and compassion. And as we breathe out, let us release all the stress, anxiety, and exhaustion in the body and mind. Let us practice this way for a while. Let us now turn our attention to the region of our heart. Although God is present everywhere and in everyone, the divine presence can be felt most clearly in our hearts. We can meditate in any way we have been taught. To remain focused, we can take the help of a short mental prayer or a mantra or a divine name. Let us now spend some time dwelling on the presence of God in our hearts. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. May the Divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So last week we began with chapter 5 of the Gita, and we took a look at the first 5 verses. And we saw how Krishna again emphasizes that in order to be fit for the highest knowledge, first our heart must become pure. And the purification of heart occurs through doing work in a selfless way. What is sometimes called the Nishkama Karma Yoga, doing work as is yoga. And then the one verse that we discussed a lot last time was the verse 3, which said, "He who neither dislikes nor desires should be known as a perpetual renouncer of action." So it's possible for all of us to be always be that highest category of being free from the bondage of actions if we can live without dislikes or desires. The Sanskrit word here is na dveshti na kankshati. And then some of you might remember we had questions about this dislikes and desires. Now the dislikes here doesn't mean that we can have likes, but we shouldn't have dislikes, first of all. So the dislikes really negates both likes and dislikes. The word that is used here is dveshti. So to 2 words in Sanskrit which stand for likes and dislikes are raga and dvesha. So raga is likes, dvesha is hatred. So one who is free from both likes and dislikes and free from desires, such a person is a nitya sannyasi, is already a sannyasi. So one of the questions that came up was about living without desires or minimizing the desires is understandable. But what's the point about not having dislikes? Because having likes and dislikes seems so natural, so inbuilt within us. Now the likes and dislikes that we have are really the seeds, the samskaras, the mental impressions. There are certain mental impressions already lodged within our minds, because of which certain things, certain people, certain places, certain ideas we instantly like, or we see them in a favorable way. And there are certain people, places, things, ideas we have an instant dislike for. Is it natural? Well, considering that almost everyone has it, we have got to say it's natural. Is it something that's unavoidable? To a point. Is it something that we are stuck with all through our life? Probably not. So let's think a little bit more about this likes and dislikes. What is it that makes me like something? Or what is it that makes me dislike something? And it's almost always our prior experience with that thing. Most often that experience is sometime in this life itself. But oftentimes we might think that, well, I don't recollect any specific reason or instance why I like something or why I dislike something. When we are not able to recollect any specific reason why we like or dislike something, what in Vedanta they say, well, then maybe that impression about liking or disliking has been there in my mind, maybe I've carried over from my earlier birth. So, and then the example that I often give is that suppose someone likes chocolate ice cream. Then we say, why do I like it? Well, it obviously means at some point earlier I have eaten chocolate ice cream and it has made me happy. Because it makes me happy, I like it. And there is let's say there is some people or some person, you just want to keep away from them, just total dislike. And the reason could be, well, maybe at some earlier occasion, they have brought me some pain, some amount of suffering, which is why I don't want to have anything to do with it. So that's what likes or dislikes do. Normally, both of them, since they are the mental impressions, they lead eventually to some action. And almost always, that which we like, we look upon it favorably, and not just look upon it favorably, we want to either possess it or be as near it as possible, generally. And that which we dislike also leads to action. We want to run away from it or keep it away from us. So both likes and dislikes will lead to action. Now, action will lead to the result of action, karma phala, and that's how it will bind us. So in that sense, likes and dislikes and desire are not completely two independent things, although it's kind of put here this way, one who neither dislikes nor desires, but what it really means is the two are interconnected. Both likes and dislikes lead to desire. A desire to have what we like and a desire to keep away from what we dislike. And so a person who is free from this is already a sannyasi. That's what this verse says. So what do you think about what I have said so far? Does it make sense? Some of you who had question about this likes or dislikes last time, do you think some of it has been answered with this? Is that okay? If you have any further questions about likes or dislikes, feel free to ask. Yeah.
So Swamiji, so for instance, like eating food, which is required for survival, would that be considered a like, because you like food, but it's kind of linked to our survival? Is that considered a like?
Well, I mean, not every food that you eat you like, but you eat it anyway, right? So, if you liking itself is nothing, it's not a crime. All that it says is, if you eat something because you like it, then obviously it brings you joy. If at some point that which you like is taken away from you, is not made available to you, or it's difficult to get, then it's going to be painful. That's all it is. So the more you are neutral to it, now that again doesn't prevent you from being happy. The food that you naturally enjoy eating, if it comes to you, you eat it, you are going to be happy anyway. But if you like, oh, I like it, I want it, that kind of active expression of like and dislike, we are setting ourselves up for some pain. That's the only idea. I mean, in one sense you could say, well, when we say, I like my spiritual practice, well, is that also a kind of like or dislike? In a way, yes. And in some sense, liking your spiritual practice is not a bad idea. Why I say not a bad idea is that, for instance, some days you miss your meditation. Now, if you really enjoy doing it, like it, then you're going to miss it. You're going to feel bad about it. And I think that's a good thing. It's a good thing to feel bad about missing your meditation. It's a good thing to feel the pain that I have not been able to think of God. I think that pain is actually good. So I think that like is good. So again, whenever you read this likes and dislikes, you just have to kind of put it in the context. If my love for spiritual practice is going to take me away from all my hurdles and obstacles in spiritual life, then that kind of thing is good. The more, I mean, you might say, well, you shouldn't have any attachments. True. But if my attachment to God, if my attachment to spiritual life is going to help me detach myself from the things which actually make me weaker or bind me more to the material world, then this attachment is good. So in other words, we don't have anything personal against attachments or desire or anything. We just, as spiritual seekers, we must do all we can to bring us, whatever brings us closer to the spirit, closer to the spiritual ideal. Is that okay? Okay. So let's now read verse number 6. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptumayo gataha yoga yukto munir brahma nachirena gacchati. But renunciation of action, O mighty armed one, is difficult to attain without performance of selfless action. The sage devoted to selfless action attains Brahman quickly. So without doing work as yoga, if we give up work without attaining this, without really doing it as a form of yoga, then giving up is not possible. We might delude ourselves into thinking that, oh, my heart is pure, now I need to only just be immersed in Brahman. It's a kind of very fascinating thought when we can do it. But sometimes we might want to just give up work because we don't want to do it. And there is a story which is told that one day one young novice went to a teacher and said, could you please accept me as your student? And the teacher said, good. And this was in ancient times, so he just went and stayed in the teacher's hermitage. And in the morning, they got up and they both sat in meditation. And after a while, it was time to go to the woods and bring wood. You know, you have to start cooking and all of that. So then the teacher tells the student, why don't you now, it's time to go and get some firewood so that it's time to cook. And there is a rule that if you use a rosary, if you japa mala for japa, then you shouldn't leave it halfway. You need to complete the entire round. And so when the teacher asked the student, could you please go and get some firewood? And the student says, oh teacher, I'm in the middle of my mala, so I can't get up. And so the teacher waited, and this student is still continuing. Afterwards, finally, the guru said, okay, you know, it'll take time for him. So the guru went and got the firewood, and then he asked the student, now come on, it's time to cook. And then the student said, well, teacher, I'm in the middle of my mala. And so then the teacher then cut the vegetables and started cooking. And finally, again, the teacher afterwards said, now, student, get up, and now we need to set the plates and get ready for lunch. And then the student says, oh teacher, I'm just in the middle of my mala. And then finally, the teacher then set all the plates and served food. And then he said, now come on, it's time to eat. And then the student says, now, how often can I just keep on saying, no, I must obey my teacher. And then he just goes and sits and eats. So that's what is meant here, the renunciation of action. is very difficult without performance of selfless action. So only when my heart becomes pure as a result of doing work as yoga, then I'm fit to give up work. Without that, if I try to give up, I'm only deceiving myself. Not only will it not purify my heart, it will in fact bind me more. But once a person is able to make his or her heart pure as a result of working selflessly, then such a person attains to Brahman quickly. Attaining to Brahman quickly simply means Brahman is not the name of a person, it's not a place. Brahman simply means the vast one, the infinite one. And attaining Brahman means we are able to shed our limited identity. Right now, our identity is limited to this psychophysical being. So we see ourselves as human beings, as living creatures whose existence is sandwiched between birth at one side and death at the other. And in between, we have all this jumble of joy and sorrow, victory and defeat, and so on, and all the positive and negative emotions that we go through. So to rise above this duality and be one with this infinite reality, then we are free from death, free from all pain, free from all sorrow. That is what is meant by attaining Brahman. Verse number 7. The question that can be raised here is, sure, as a result of working selflessly, I might attain Brahman, but what about the work that I do after I attain Brahman? Because we know that if once you attain Brahman, you don't just vaporize or evaporate immediately. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be any enlightened people. As soon as you become Brahman, you disappear. It does that way. Doesn't happen. So we find that after enlightenment, the enlightened ones still continue to live, and if they live, they are doing work. At the very least, they are eating. They are walking. They are talking, and in fact, they are doing a lot of work. Perhaps they do more work than we are able to do. If you see the lives of these great ones, Shankaracharya, such a short life, just 32 years. Within 32 years, the extent of work that he has done is phenomenal. I don't think we wouldn't be able to do it even if we lived to 80 or 90 years. Vivekananda lived for less than 40. But again, so these enlightened ones, they do a lot of work. So the idea is that as a result of selfless action, they have become enlightened. But won't the work that they do after enlightenment, would that work not bind them like it binds all of us? That is addressed in verse number 7. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate. He who is devoted to selfless action, yoga, and pure in mind, whose body and senses are under control, and whose self has become the self of all, is not touched, even though he may be performing work. What's interesting in this verse, if you follow the Sanskrit, the word Atma comes several places. You can see Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Sarvabhutatma, Bhutatma. Now the word Atma, oftentimes you will remember, we always say there is the body, there is the mind, there is the Atman. Now the Atman is a term we always use to refer to the spirit, the non-material part. But in Sanskrit, Atma simply means the self. And we don't have to get caught up in the term Atma, because depending on the context, it can mean many different things. So Vishuddha Atma here really means pure in mind. So Atma here means the mind. Then the second Atma, Vijitatma, the Atma which is under control, there the Atma means the body. And Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. So these two Atmas, they mean the spirit. So in this one verse, although the same word is used, Atma, in one place it means the mind, one place it means the body, one place it means the spirit. So the idea is this: he who is devoted to selfless action, one who is a karma yogi, as a result of which his or her mind has become pure, whose body and senses are under control, whose self has become the self of all, means a person who sees oneself in all and everyone in oneself. Such a person is not touched even though he may be performing work. Now that's the experience of the enlightened one. One who has become enlightened is completely pure in mind, whose body and senses are under control, everything is under control. So such a person is not touched by work. And you might remember, we said, what is it that connects us to the work that is done? It is the sense of I. So when the act of reading is occurring, for instance, I can say, here is the book, here are my eyes, and I can say, I am reading. But essentially, if you just look at it in an impersonal sort of way, then really the book, the hands are holding it, the eyes are reading it, the mind comes in the process about understanding mind and intellect, what's going on. So where does the I come in really? The hands are holding it, the eyes are reading it, the mind is processing it. All these things are doing their job, and I feel I am reading it. So this action occurs. What connects me to this action is because I feel I am doing it. But now, if I know that this body is only a covering, I am not the body, and therefore, hands are holding it, but the hands are not me. So I'm not holding it. The eyes are seeing it and eyes are reading it. I'm not the eyes, I'm not reading it. The mind is processing it, I'm not the mind. And so we don't have to really keep on saying all this. What it really means is that once the more identified I am with the spirit within me, I'm able to see everything that is happening and yet not feel that I am doing it. Now that is the difference between an enlightened being and the rest of us. They do exactly what we do. They also eat, they talk, they move, they walk, everything that we do, they do. The only difference is when we walk, we feel I am walking. When we talk, I feel I am talking. And for them, it just happens by itself, without the sense of I. And that is why is not touched even though he may be performing work. In other words, the work that we do or we will do or we can do without the sense of I, we will not be touched by that work either. So the goal here is therefore to do the right thing, to do the good thing, but as far as possible, keep the ego out of it. It's only the ego is the source of both, not just pain really, in some sense. It brings us joy and it brings us sorrow. The trouble is, no one has problem with joy. Well, more the merrier. Only the problem with sorrow. So is there some way we can have only joy and no sorrow? That's not possible because they go together. But the goal is, if I can keep that's why we go back to that, beyond likes and dislikes, minimizing our desires, then we are able to let go of these petty joys and petty sorrows of daily life and experience a much deeper kind of joy. But that deeper kind of joy will not come unless and until I have let go of this ordinary kind of joy. Now, should I let go of the ordinary joy first and then the deeper joy will come? Or should I first make sure the deeper joy is there and let go of this ordinary joy later? I mean, it's like they say bird in hand is worth two in the bush. It's like I give up the joy that I have and nothing else comes. Then what? The truth is that unless and until we experience a little bit of that deeper joy, we won't be able to give up the smaller joys of life. That's just the way things are. And you will see in our own personal lives, when some kind of a glimpse into that deeper reality comes, and it oftentimes comes in most unexpected ways at unexpected times. But when something truly uplifting occurs, and it might be maybe just a fleeting second, but once you experience it, it strengthens our faith. It just then makes us realize that all of this is not just some kind of a theoretical talk, or just some kind of a matter of just believing in something, that there is really something out there. When that glimpse comes, then the letting go of these superficial joys and sorrows become much easier. And so you don't have to give up these smaller ones until something deeper one comes. So it really, renunciation or giving up, so long as my giving up is a very painful experience, it's not really easy. It's not even possible, really. See, giving up something, if it is painful, it also means it's still valuable to me. And no one wants to give up what is valuable. But on the other hand, if something makes you realize that it's not as valuable as I thought, then it's very easy to give up, right? It's like, let's say, well, let's say you have some souvenir, and you feel, oh, this is something very precious because it has come from this very special place, and you have treasured it long, and then someday you make a revelation comes to you, or some friend comes and says, you know what, this is actually fake. This is just, if you turn it back, it's written made in China. It's not really an original one. And then that which you have preserved for such a long time with such great this thing, it's like, oh my God, this is just a fake thing. And then someone brings you a real, genuine one, and you check from every side and say, yes, this is the real one. Then to give up what is fake is not painful at all. But before you knew it was a fake thing, and you wouldn't have parted with it so easily. Now that's the thing about our lives also. There are things which are valuable to us, and no amount of books or anyone telling you, oh, give it up, just not going to happen. But through deep introspection and through our own, sometimes they say like glimpses of immortality, or as intimations of immortality, or something like that. So, and these things will come. Every sincere seeker of truth, these things do come. And as I said, in often unexpected ways. It can, if you are sensitive to music, it can come through music, it can come through art, it can come through deep thinking. If you are a lover of nature, it can just come through maybe a beautiful sunrise or sunset. There is just no one way to know how it happens. But if there is a sincere longing for the truth in our heart, somehow, in some mysterious way, it will make its presence known to us. And when that happens, then things which were very valuable to us earlier, maybe they lose a little bit of their shine because we have found something even more valuable than that. And then letting go becomes much easier. So what is the experience of one who is enlightened, when that enlightened one does things? That is described in the next two verses, 8 and 9. Let's chant them. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrunuvan sprushan jigran Ashnan gachan swapan shwasan. Pralapan visrujan grunhan. Unmishan nimishan napi. Indriyani indriyartheshu. Vartanta iti dharayan. The man of selfless action who knows the truth thinks, I am not doing anything, even while seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, sleeping, breathing, speaking, excreting, grasping and opening and closing of the eyelids, believing that the senses rest in the sense objects. Really, these are quite a big list, but still not comprehensive enough. It really means everything, not just the things that are mentioned here. All activities, physical or mental, are included. So, an enlightened being, all of these things occur in the body and mind of an enlightened being. But the enlightened being feels, I'm not doing anything, believing the senses rest in the sense objects. So that's what I meant. Senses, the sight of seeing, rest in the sense object, the book, the mind, the object. So all the senses have their respective objects. So these senses are interacting with the objects. And for me to think I am reading, I am talking is ignorance. Knowledge would be, here is this capacity to talk, to make sound. You've got a nice voice box here, it's making sound, the mind is putting it into words, and it's just occurring. And can I be an observer? See, sometimes it is easy to be an observer of things that are happening around us. But still, even to the things that are happening around us, we are seldom neutral observers. Most of the time, we are observing whatever is happening around us through the lens of our own mind. And our mind is colored, no doubt about it. That's how we go back to the likes and dislikes. Our mind is colored by our own set of biases and prejudices, things that we like, things that we don't like. So when I see, I don't just see, I also judge, I also react. So if you see a carpet, if you only see a carpet, that would be great, but it's not. First of all, when we see, our mind also covers what we see with ideas. And then likes and dislikes. It's like I see the carpet and say, oh, this is red in color. Oh, it's a great design. Oh, it's beautiful. You know, all these thoughts are covering my pure neutral sense of perception. Sometimes it is said, for instance now, my eyes are closed, I'm not seeing anything. With the eyes, I'm still hearing sound, but assume that I'm not now, the world is cut out from me. Now when I open my eyes, for the first nanosecond, well, whatever the smallest time that you can think of, I'm just seeing nothing but God. But that's such a shortest time frame. Very soon, what I see is already covered by ideas. It's like, oh, it's evening, now it's a Gita class going on, and this is nice, this is good, this is bad, this is terrible, this is red. So the ideas about the color, the sound, and of course our likes, dislikes, everything comes and colors what we see. So we are not really seeing the world as it is. We are seeing the world through our lenses. And that's what really hides the reality. Now, if I can see, keeping all my prejudices and likes and dislikes away, without even thinking that I am seeing, then I'm just in the presence of God. And that is why that I very like that quote which someone said, I forget who, that if you see a tree, if you look at a tree and you see a tree, you have not seen anything. If you look at a tree and see there a miracle of God, then alone you have seen. Now, if we can be truly neutral, without any likes or dislikes, without even the feeling that I am seeing, and here everything that you see will be a miracle. Everything that you see will be filled with the presence of the divine. Now that's what an enlightened being does. You see, oftentimes, say you are on the road and you are driving. Now you are going, you're following the speed limit, say 65 miles per hour. And oftentimes, even when we speak or someone asks you, hey, what speed are you going? I'm going at 65 miles per hour, and that would be like a very truthful statement, but maybe not. Am I going or is the car going? So really, it's the car who is running. I'm just sitting there. And yet, we just say, I'm going fast or I'm going slow. But really, I'm just sitting. It's the car which is moving. Or we say, oh, I'm flying tonight. I'm not flying. I'm just going to go from here to the airport and sit in that car. It's the plane which is going to fly, right? I mean, although we say it, we can understand. Well, when I say I'm flying, really it's not me who is flying. It's actually the plane that is flying. Exactly in the same way. Exactly. No difference. Exactly in the same way. When you say, I'm reading, you are not reading anything. You are the Atman. You are just there. It's your eyes, it's your hands, it's these books, they are doing. So all activity is in things happening. The more we are able to remember this, the easier it will be to get our little I, our little ego out. And the more the ego gets out, the more the Lord gets in. What's preventing the divine from occupying? It's a little bit like this. For instance, now you have if you invite a guest, an honored guest to your home, and there's one special chair, and you say, please come and sit down. But someone is already sitting on the chair. Now, how can your honored guest sit on a chair which is already occupied, right? And we'll say, no, I can't sit. That person who's sitting there has to get up from there, right? Exactly in the same way. So all devotees of God say, oh Lord, Lord, in my heart, and we all say, I want to meditate on the divine, and please come. And all our prayers and meditation is really inviting, or be trying to feel and see the presence of the divine in our heart. But the problem is, the heart is already occupied by the ego. And so the Lord comes and says, no place to sit. So get the ego out. And so those moments when we are able to kind of push the ego out, then the Lord gets to sit for a little while. Most of the time the Lord is standing, the ego is sitting. So that's another one imagery for you to work on. So verse 10. Brahmanyadhaya karmani Sangam tyaktva karoti yaha Lipyate nasapapena Padma patra